number of years ago, I was at an event, not while I was here in Louisville. I can't even remember if I was still in Illinois or if I was in Wisconsin. But a priest, an Orthodox priest, not a Greek priest, but an Orthodox priest of another jurisdiction, came up to me and was almost trying to pick a fight. And he says to me, "Father, do you give communion to people who have not gone to confession?" And I said, "Why, of course." And he said, "We do not. We do it correctly. One confession, one communion." Like that he was, his fingers. One confession, one communion. And I went, "Wow, Father, that's quite rigid. So you go to confession every week before you go to communion?" He goes, "Well, that's different." I go, "How is that different, Father?" He goes, "I'm the priest. So you're telling me that you, the ordained priest, don't have to be as rigid as the people of your parish?" He didn't know what to say, right? But think about that. It doesn't pass what we would say. It doesn't pass the sniff test. It really, really doesn't. I mean, to think that we should, as clergy, or we as Orthodox Christians, should hold others to a higher standard than we hold ourselves. I said many times we should see ourselves as the chief of all sinners and give everybody else the benefit of the doubt. We teach properly, but we give economia. Well, in the same way, tonight you heard that long gospel. It was, I think, chapters 26 and 27 of Matthew, if I'm not mistaken. And everywhere I go, I hear certain Bible verses, And this is one of them. I'll be introduced to somebody many times in our own hall, in our own church. Somebody will be visiting, and they'll say, "We'd like to introduce you to our priest. This is Father John." And they go, "Hello, John." And I go, "Father John." And they go, "Call no man father, for you only have one Father who is in heaven." And when I hear that, I will tell you what I hear. What I hear is one of two things. Number one, you don't know your Bible. Number two, you're calling me a hypocrite. It's one or the other. If we heard tonight's reading, it starts out with a long dissertation about how the priests in Israel liked their robes long and liked the best seats and feasts and liked the best cuts of meat and liked to be treated like royalty. And then Christ says, "Do as they say. Do as they say, but don't do as they do." And then he says, "Don't call anyone Father. Don't call anyone Master." And then he goes on with the rest of his speech talking about how they are hypocrites. "Woe to you, scribes, Pharisees, hypocrites, for you do A, B, C, D, E, and F. You do all these things that don't require you to be held to the standard that you hold the people." He says you search to make a proselyte. A proselyte is to bring somebody from another faith into your faith. You search to bring in a proselyte, and then once you do, you bind them to hell because of the weights you put on them. But you yourself won't use your finger to move that weight. When we read these two chapters, we understand this connection to hypocrisy, right? That's what he's talking about. Well, I will tell you what. I am a sinner. I struggle every single day. But I never ask you to do anything that I myself would not do plus more. I feel that's hypocrisy. And I know that I am unworthy of the ordination that God has bestowed upon me. I don't know how I got from there to here. Every day I wake up afraid for my own salvation. But I know what the Bible tells me. It says, "Call no man Father," but it talks about in this context. It also says, "Call no man Master." What's a Greek word for master? What do we call the bishop? Despoti. Despoti. What's despoti mean? Supreme master. It's only used 4 times in the Bible, and it's used to talk about Christ and God. It's supreme master. He's the despoti. Now, why is he the despoti? Because he has that throne. Where the bishop is, there is Christ. He is ordained in the lineage from Christ through the Apostle James right down to today. He receives those gifts to be able to be in that seat and to have the responsibility for all of us, a responsibility that I don't want to have. What's a word in modern Greek, or what's a word we use today for master or Lord? What's a word for Lord? Kyrios. Kyrios. In Greek, when we talk about the bishop in English, we say His Eminence Nicholas. When he puts his name down in Greek, you know how he refers to himself? Anybody know? Kyrios, Kyrios Nikolaos. Not just Master Nicholas, but Master, because he's the bishop, right? And we understand that. We understand the authority, but we also understand the great responsibility. We also understand the need for genuineness, for authenticity. We understand the need for economia and for love. When we hear this gospel tonight, we need to understand that it is not that we hold the bishop or the priests or anybody up to the same level or even above anyone else. Everyone has the image of God within them. Everyone is given their gifts of grace at baptism. It is that we respect the relationship of the ones that are given the responsibility to help us achieve salvation. Today I spoke with the bishop because the Metropolis Council had to vote on something. And I didn't know how to vote because I didn't like it. So I called him and I said, Your Eminence, how do you want me to vote? And I did what he told me to do. Why? Because even though I'm an independent thinker, I'm also obedient. And I also have to understand there are things that I can't see and cannot know. Right? This is the beauty of understanding the canon, the gospel, the epistles. Paul says many times, I am your father. Did he not know what Christ taught, or did he understand what Christ taught? It's understanding that this beautiful tradition that we have is a holistic one, where we not only have this beautiful book of the Bible, this canon, which, by the way, is our book. People will say to me, well, Father John, is your church based on the Bible? And I go, well, kind of. Your Bible is based on my church. It was written for us, by us, within us, canonized within our councils. We must embrace it and understand it. So many other traditions know our book better than we know our book. But we have to know how to answer these things. One of the beautiful lessons of Holy Tuesday, right? One of the beautiful lessons, and here it is, don't be a hypocrite. Don't be a hypocrite. It's that simple. Let your yes be yes, your no be no, be who you are. Know that you're a sinner so that you can walk in the light, as the apostle as John the Apostle writes in his first letter. Know that you are a sinner so you can be in the light. Because if you think you're not a sinner, you're in darkness. It's that great paradox. So tonight, let us leave with that understanding that we must always be yearning to learn more from the gospel, from Christ, from the Bible. We must embrace the tradition of the church. We must not be hypocrites, and we must be obedient. May the Holy Trinity bless and protect you, and may God continue to give you strength as we traverse the rest of the great fast.